No, no, this can't be right. This can't be right. Officer, I swear she told me she was Mickey 18.
I'm Chris Hansen.
What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It is I, William J.R. Wilson, aka Will, aka Will 3. Don't ask what happened to the other two.
There has been a murder, and you are a suspect.
Welcome back to the channel, and today we are not talking about an award show. We are talking about the newest movie by Bong Joon-Ho called Mickey 17, his follow-up to the Oscar-winning film Parasite. And yeah, it is based on a novel, Mickey 7, by Edward Ashton. It stars Robert Pattinson, Naomi Aki, Stephen Yeun, and Toni Collette, along with Mark Ruffalo doing a bad Trump impression.
China.
But the story of the movie is Robert Pattinson plays a character called Mickey Barnes, who is signed up to be a quote-unquote expendable, which is basically a human lab rat where he is repeatedly cloned over and over again to basically die doing dangerous tasks and trying to find new vaccines where they inject him with things that obviously kill him.
I'm in danger.
But then they research his body afterwards, print him out a new body, and there you go. This channel is not a review channel. It's a channel where I want to talk about movies. So if you haven't seen the film and you're like, should I see it? Let me look at this review. This is not a review. So any spoilers for the movie past this is on you, because I'm telling you right now, I will spoil things. And before we actually talk about the movie itself, I just thought this was kind of a perfect encapsulation of what the movie was to me. So I saw it late Friday night, last showing, in a theater that maybe held 100 people, right? And the theater was packed. It was a full theater Friday night. So I'm sitting in my seat. First 30-40 minutes of the movie happened, and I myself am completely locked in.
You better lock it up. You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
First 30 minutes of this movie, locked in, love the world they're setting up, love how this is progressing and what the story looks like it's going to be.
No, you're not. Is it?
All of a sudden, two people in the theater just get up and leave, right? We've all been to the movies, for however many years, and we've always seen that in theaters where people get up at random times, leave, never come back. Maybe the movie's not for them. Maybe they just went in blind and was like, not my type of movie, whatever. So that thing happens all the time. Didn't really think of anything of it. As the movie keeps progressing, maybe every 10, 15, 20 minutes, two more people will get up and leave. Three more people will get up and leave. A group of four will get up and leave. So in a movie theater that at the beginning of the movie, it was packed. We started at 100. Now, all of a sudden, end of the movie, no exaggeration, there's maybe 20 people left. Obviously, I'm one of them, but that was really kind of a microcosm of my opinion of the movie, which is started out really strong, peaked kind of early, and then just progressively kind of just got, in my eyes, like less interesting. And again, it's that thing where I thought the movie was going to go right, and then we're going right, and I'm like really into this. I really like the, philosophical nature of the movie, of like what it means to have a soul, what it means to have a body, all that kind of stuff. But then that stuff is all kind of surface level. They never get past anything to make it like this philosophical, question mark where they're doing anything interesting with it, especially when you look at my favorite take of that storyline that is currently airing on, Apple TV, which is called Severance, which is taking those same ideas and philosophical thoughts and just spinning it in one of the most interesting ways I can ever recall seeing that type of thing spun. And not only is Severance one of the best shows on television, but the themes in that show and like what it means to be a human and what it means to have a body and a soul is done perfectly in that show. So to then have a movie that is this movie, Mickey 17, come out and address and talk about those same kind of themes, but all just be kind of surface level and never really go deeper than that, felt like a misstep when you have the perfect example of the perfect way to do that and, go above and beyond doing that. And then again, you have Mickey 17, which barely scratches the surface of that. So, right off the bat, and again, I'm not, you know, a movie genius. I'm a genius in other things. But I am not the smartest guy in the room. I never pretend to be. So if I'm just blatantly missing deeper meaning and deeper themes and things in the movie that you're like, oh, idiot, you're missing the A, B, and C, which makes those points stronger. Like, tell me so I can then rewatch this movie and be like, oh, let's get to the actual story, which is Mickey 17 is obviously called Mickey 17 because we follow in the story the 17th iteration of this Mickey character, the 17th clone of this Mickey Barnes character played by Robert Pattinson, who is the best part of the movie, doing a funny accent that at first I was like, ooh, and then it really grew on me. And he's great in this movie. So is the character of Nasha, played by Naomi Aki. And then there is like a main scientist who has given me real John Goodman vibes, played by Cameron Brighton, called Arkady, who kind of stole the movie for me and all the scenes he was in. I really just liked his characters. Like, in terms of the characters, the Robert Pattinson and Nasha characters are, I would say, are the 1A and 1B, right? They're in the movie probably the most. They're obviously the main characters. It's their story. But then the co-leads of the movie are the Mark Ruffalo, who plays Kenneth Marshall, a character I didn't understand because he's supposed to be like a former senator or a disgraced senator or some type of political figure that for some reason Earth then gave a spaceship to and made him the captain of like this expedition to uh colonize this planet of what we find out is worms.
Even the worms in his stool have type 2 diabetes.
The Toni Collette character who plays his wife Yelfa, and the Mark Ruffalo character who is Kenneth Marshall, who is just a bad Trump parody. Like, again, I know this movie came out later than it was supposed to. It was delayed by, I think, a couple years. I believe it was supposed to come out like 2021, 2022. So this is one of the last movies of that COVID casualty era where everything got pushed back. I'm sure there were rewrites on this movie because it comes off like kind of a jumbled mess about halfway through the movie where you're like, what are we even doing here? They lose the Stephen Yeun character and the Anna Marie V character of Kai. The Stephen Yeun character plays Timu or Timo. Timu's the, rip off Amazon or whatever, the bad Amazon, as if Amazon isn't also bad, but you get what I'm saying. But both those characters in the movie just are set up at the beginning and like second acts of the movie to be some sort of character arc, some sort of, character test or growth towards the end of the movie, and then both those characters just completely disappear through most of the movie. And then the Kai character is kind of set up to where the two Mickey clones and the Nasha character have like a love triangle going on here, and then she's inserted into that as, oh, now it's going to be like a love square. And that's for one scene, and then it's kind of never mentioned again. They never bring it up. And then we see her with a partner at the beginning of the movie. That partner dies. We have this one scene where she's like, oh, I want one of the Mickey clones. And then they're basically like, no. And then she's with another person at the end of the movie. So it just seems like a weird, like there was supposed to be something there and then there was nothing. But the two biggest wasted characters in this movie are the Stephen Yeun character and the Toni Collette character. Like the Toni Collette character is, I thought it was going to be where we see all the Mark Ruffalo speeches. She's kind of like whispering in his ear and kind of getting him on the right track and telling him what he should be saying and all that kind of stuff. So I thought there would be an eventual part where it's like, oh, she's the one actually in charge. There's going to be a power struggle. She's going to take over, all that kind of stuff. No, she's just really focused on sauces. Yes, you heard that right if you haven't seen the movie and don't care about spoilers, because this is a big one. Her whole character is she likes sauces. That's it. So there's these worms on the planet. She wants to cut off their tails and make sauce out of it. We also never, that's like her whole character. We never find out if the sauce she makes from the worms is actually good or worth the effort, because this is supposed to be like a dark comedy. I think it would have been funny if the sauce was bad and then she is kind of just checks out of the movie and is just like, oh, I don't care anymore. Because again, her whole character arc is just she likes sauces, because her whole thing is, well, we don't really have a society until we have sauce. Like any, you know, dumb cavemen can eat meat, but the second you have sauce, all of a sudden you're a civilized society. Which again, first off, great point. Can't disagree with her. That is a hot take that I fully support. But it's also one of those things where like there should be a payoff if that's the ongoing joke, if that's the running joke, and there's no payoff to that. Much like the Stephen Yoon character, who is like kind of like this backstabbing friend of the Robert Pattinson Mickey Barnes character. And the reason they're both on the ship is because of Stephen Yoon basically putting them in a position where they have to run away from a loan shark. And the loan shark's like, did I say shark? The loan shark is like, if you're on Earth, we'll find you and kill you. So they're idiots, and their genius plan is like, well, then we'll get on a spaceship and we won't be on Earth anymore, so he'll leave us alone. But then the loan shark eventually finds out they're on this freighter, and then really for some reason only cares about killing the Stephen Yoon character. Like the Robert Pattinson character's doing his own thing, and then the Stephen Yoon character is just like, oh, he sent us a note. We have to cut up one of us and like send him pictures or something. And then the Mickeys like stop him, and then they send a guy to kill the Stephen Yoon character, like that is from the loan shark, and then Stephen Yoon just kills that guy, and then it's kind of just like, well, problem solved. Like that was the big arc, which is just that the Stephen Yeun, who was a piece of shit, kind of just is still a piece of shit at the end and like lives and survives. And I saw this a day ago. I don't remember if anything else happens to that character, because again, he is set up in the beginning to just be this where you get an arc or a character change, or Robert Pattinson gets some type of revenge on him, something terrible happens to this guy, and then if my memory serves me correctly, like, nope, he's just fine at the end. Same with the Kai character, like set up to be a love interest, set up to be something more in the movie, and then at the end, it's just like, nope, she's now just with a different person than she was at the beginning of the movie. Bong Joon-Ho puts like capitalism bad in all his movies, which I agree, capitalism is bad, but again, you gotta give me more. If where Parasite was capitalism bad and class warfare and all that kind of stuff, and it was approached in a really interesting, unique way, and the clone portrayal and Mickey 17 and like how he got to be Mickey 17, all that stuff is great. And I wish that was explored more in the movie and a bigger part of the movie, like what it means to be a clone and like how each clone thinks and feels. Because when we meet they think in the movie the Mickey 17 character is dead, so they bring a Mickey 18, which is the next clone, obviously, and the wires get crossed with him, where he is just like kind of psychotic and has a death wish and is just unhinged, and then it becomes a story of like you versus kind of like the worst version of yourself, which is again very interesting. But the movie quickly, and this is where I sympathize with the people in the movie theater I saw, where it was just like they kind of started leaving in droves, where it was revealed that, oh yeah, the last hour of this movie is just going to be this worm conflict, because the Mickey 17 character is saved by the worms. So then he realizes, like, oh, the worms don't view us as enemies. Like, they don't want to hurt us. They're the good guys. Tell me if you heard this before. This is a sci-fi movie where the humans showing up on a planet and threatening to kill all the things on the planet to colonize it, let me write this, are actually the bad guys. So the humans on the new planet are the bad guys. The people who have been on that planet already, they're the good guys. So again, a story never told in sci-fi or really movies ever. So that's an original thought. But that's my issue with the movie. Is just the Mickey 17 clone expendable part of it really interesting, felt original, felt fresh, and then the second half of the movie just kind of puts all that to the side and is just like, let's focus on our version of Avatar, our version of Dances with Wolves, our version of Starship Troopers, right? Where it's just like a telltale staple of the sci-fi industry, story industry, right? Which is just we're actually the bad guys. That's basically what Dune is, right? It's just like, ugh, why do we keep telling that story? And then not only on that, but then you put that tired tale on top of a 2025 bad Trump parody, and it kind of just like, yeah, no shit, the end of the movie falls apart with when those are the ingredients. So for me, that's kind of just what the movie is. Starts off really strong, really interesting ideas, and then they decide to go the route of focusing on the least interesting parts of the movie that they're presenting. So, final thoughts on Mickey 17. Uh, really great first half of the movie. Dare I say, loved it, right? The first, right before it says the Mickey 17 title card, the world, everything they set up with, absolutely loved it, was 100% in. Then the movie for the next hour and a half just slowly and methodically just got less and less interesting to me, and apparently to a room filled with people who were watching it with me, because I've never seen it before. I've never, and I go to the movies a lot. I prefer to see every movie I can in the theater. So since I was 18, about to be 35 in a month or two. So since I was 18, I've never been in a movie that I've seen do this, where it was just periodically just two, three, four people leaving every 10 minutes. Never came back. Theater was almost empty by the end of it. And it was a packed house at the beginning. This has been the William J. Wilson YouTube channel. First, talking about movies, right? Because the first one was the Oscars. So next week, we'll be back to talk about what is already being hailed as one of the worst Russo brothers movies ever, which is their new like sci-fi, looks like bad Star Wars ripoff that comes out on Netflix on Friday. We'll be talking about that. And also the new Looney Tunes movie I'm going to take my kids to, and we'll talk about that next week as well. So join me next Monday to talk about those two. And then also Wednesday, Thursday, might be doing another video about Bong Joon-Ho that you should look forward to. So we'll see you Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday, whatever. Adios.